The people of begin all around the earth can practically allow themselves to do anything under the protection of his powerful, allied, large and small countries, because the leaders of these countries are blind to the true plans of Israel. Billy says, but when will this heinous one become more clever and finally smell the roast? Semyaza says this will, unfortunately, still take a very long time. Billy says okay, go on. Semyaza says up to and by the end of June, 1981, 2 facts will arise in your homeland, Switzerland, which are worth mentioning. In the first half of the year 1981, it will result in Switzerland, similarly as with the murder cases, in that the number of drug-related deaths will rise so high in the first 6 months of the year that at the end of June, it will be as high as it was in the entire year of 1980. Then, beginning in the middle of July, Switzerland will be inflicted by terrorists who will move the population into fear and fright through a whole number of bomb attacks in different cities and places, whereby, unfortunately, many humans will be injured, quite apart from the millions worth of property damages. Billy says then Switzerland can expect a great deal, and I would like to say, however, that the entire population and, above all, the government are the ones who bear the greatest guilt if these things actually arrive. The indifference of the Swiss population and of the government makes such things possible, but so do the false legislation and the false humanitarianism. Semyaza says that is absolutely correct, but this applies not only to Switzerland but also to all countries of the earth where such occurrences can go into effect. These things, however, are well known not only to us but also to every thinking earth human being who deals with the real facts. Billy says that is clear, nevertheless, these ones still don't want to recognize the truth. Semyaza says that corresponds to the truth, but now, let me mention those important things that will report themselves as world moving in the future. These coming events are already known to you in some cases, but in certain parts also only in a few details. Concerning Iran, the end of Khomeini is well known to you, which begins to be at hand with the fall of Beni-Sad. The arising bomb assassination attempts, which I already explained to you and which will cause many close friends of the insane dictator to depart from this life, will actually constitute only the beginning of the irrevocable downfall. After the first attack in Tehran, in which the blood judge of Persia and many governing bodies will find death, there will soon follow a second, in which the lives of the president and one of his ministers will be taken away. Billy says, I have calculated once before that this man will be called President Ratsaj or something similar. Is that right? Semyaza says your calculation was inaccurate, though not completely. Anyhow, he will find death through another bomb attack. The political forms will change again through this, and new mass executions will reveal Persia's bloody way that will be dictated by the insane dictator Khomeini. The ensuing mass executions in Iran will no longer move into the first part of 1,000, rather, they will move into the thousands, and children will no longer be spared but will be shot on the open roads by the captors, who call themselves Revolutionary Guards. But this, in turn, will mean that already at this time, an underlying civil and fratricidal war will be broken out, which will find its origin and stirring up with Beni-Sad, who will call into being a resistance movement in France against Khomeini. Billy says crazy, because Beni-Sad, as you said, is designated by Khomeini himself as an ally and, with this, has also been in exile in France for the past few years. Semyaza says that is correct, only this time, Beni-Sad will no longer be for Khomeini but against him, whereby he will initiate everything in order to let him be murdered. Billy says then this should probably be the third assassination attempt. Semyaza says your question confuses me. Billy says I mean that first, an assassination attempt on President Reagan will be carried out, then, after that, there will be another on the Pope, after which then, the third attempt should follow in the course of only a few months if I am properly oriented. Semyaza says you confuse the facts because Khomeini's death does not take place in the period mentioned, as you know, because this event will only happen later. Billy says sorry. Of course. I have confused things. But on whom is the third assassination attempt committed then? Semyaza says I would have just said this if you had not interrupted me. Billy says that wasn't my intention. Semyaza says this assassination attempt will be committed on the President of Egypt during a military parade if the conditions for it do not change. Sadat will be attacked and even killed on Tuesday, October 6, 1981 on the VIP platform of the Cairo military square of Abbasija, by members of the army itself. There will be 10 to 12 deaths as a result of the attack to lament over. In addition, some assassins will die by the defense forces. Several diplomats and a church dignitary, who will likewise be on the very unsatisfactorily secured VIP platform, will not escape the attack and will be affected. The attack will be implemented by Egyptian soldiers who are members of the Army for the Freedom of Egypt movement and the Muslim Brotherhood, who will also stand in the pay of the Libyan and mid-ruler Gaddafi. The actual origin of all of this, however, comes from Begin. The mighty one of Israel, Menachem Begin, will be the actual manipulator behind the assassination of Sadat, who will believe unto death that the powerful and insidious murderer is actually a good friend, but Begin truly isn't such. Sadat is already too focused now on honest peace for Begin and also isn't unrelenting enough for Begin's sense, so this one will have him assassinated by secret agents whom he has bought, who can work towards this undetected in the ranks of Gaddafi as well as of the Muslim Brotherhood and the Freedom Army. Gaddafi, who is stupid, and the Muslim Brotherhood and the Freedom Army are by no means clever enough to know that secret agents purchased by Begin already exist now and have already existed for a long time in their own ranks and carry out their mischief directed by Begin. Begin, who is a man full of meanness, falsehood, lies, intrigue, and murderous thoughts, must let the Egyptian president be assassinated because this one doesn't fit into his criminal country domination plans. Sadat, however, is still very focused and unrelenting in his blind confidence, so Begin hopes that a non-goal-oriented man will become Sadat's successor when he allows his assassination. Billy says can also nothing be done to prevent all this. Semyaza says an attempt with a visit would be exceptionally permitted to you if you want to do this. However, you can't change anything, so be aware of this. It is always difficult for you to remain silent and to wait passively, I know. But don't be disappointed. Billy says I will write a letter to Sadat to warn him. I just hope, then, that he also receives it. Semyaza says for that I will endeavor myself and ask Quetzal for his help because from next spring I will be absent for some time. Your visit to Sadat, however, should not take place any earlier than what is good for your safety. July 28, 1981 would be suitable for this purpose, and your visit could be carried out unhindered. I calculated this date in foresight because I know your reactions very well and wanted to present this proposal to you anyways. You can then talk to the president for some time, so you don't need a letter. Quetzal will be concerned about the fact that you can talk to the president for about 20 minutes undisturbed and unseen. Be aware, however, that your visit to Sadat can have major consequences, for he will try to stop the unstoppable by carrying out a large-scale wave of arrests among his reachable enemies. This will occur as a result of your explanations that you will give him. Billy says that would be very good. The assassins would then be captured before they could strike. Semyaza says you are illogical because what has to happen will happen. With the coming events, nothing is to change. Billy says nevertheless, I would like to try this. Semyaza says you know that this is impossible, but you actually must learn this yet another time, even though you know the unavoidable and unchangeable truth. You are sometimes very strange in these things, even though you know much. Billy says I know, because for me, everything, indeed, goes too much to the kidneys. To know the future is damn hard, especially when one must remain silent about it. And besides this,